Texas Values and our legislative advocacy on Texas Values Action. Glad to be here, glad to see folks here again. Just want to say for those that were with us and all of our coalition partners that were with us at Faith and Family Day last Tuesday, really appreciate everyone that turned out. In spite of the weather last week, we had a strong turnout. We were able to move indoors for everything, which I think helped. We know a lot of folks from the North Texas area weren't able to make it down. But we were excited about that, and hey, all I could say is we got Christ talked about on the front page of the Austin American Station. So I don't know if anyone saw the picture of the Lieutenant Governor and his quote about followers of Christ on the front of the Statesman. But anyways, I thought that was interesting. I want to share with y'all just briefly some information about effectively communicating with your legislators. We're really getting into the prime time where it's very, very important for folks to be in contact with their elected officials as we're trying to start building momentum on some of the pieces of legislation that our group and a number of others are working on. I will point y'all, our legislative guides are available now. So pretty much everything I'm going to say is laid out probably much more effectively in our Texas Legislative Guide. So we have copies in the back. I've got a few more copies with me, and we got a lot at our office. So if folks are interested in getting some and taking them back, our office is at 900 Congress, just 2 blocks south of the Capitol. I'll try to bring my car over here next time and bring some boxes up. But if folks would like some more copies of these, please come see me afterwards. As Emily was said very well, we're kind of getting into the point in the process where bills are starting to, we're kind of getting towards the end in terms of bills being filed. Bills are starting to be referred to committees. We actually, the president of our organization, some of our team is actually at a committee hearing right now on a bad bill that I'll share with y'all here in just a minute. But so it's a very important time to be effectively communicating, and as probably everyone knows, because they're here right next to the Capitol, the kind of gold standard of effectively communicating with your elected officials to do so in person. And so really applaud y'all for being here and encourage folks to take every opportunity they can to speak directly with the representative. We generally encourage folks to try to reach out to their offices beforehand, before they know they're going to be here, if possible, to see if they can set some kind of appointment with their legislator. Know that a lot of the times, especially now as we're getting into the more busy time of the session, that it becomes sometimes increasingly difficult to meet directly with your legislator. You might be meeting with staff, but sometimes that's just as important, because you may be coming to speak. You want to talk about a pro-life bill, and you may have the ability to talk with the staff person that directly works on that bill. So that's a very effective way to communicate. Another effective way to get kind of in-person contact with your legislator is when they're on the floor. Right outside of the floor, there's actually a little desk set up where you can come and essentially submit a card letting your legislator know that you're there and would like to talk to them. And so they'll have someone go run that in. Most of the time, a lot of the time, if they hear they have a constituent from their district that's out, and there's more free time on the floor than you would imagine, folks have the opportunity to come off the floor and meet with you, and that's a very, very effective way to communicate. Apart from that, obviously, our organization, lots of others, are always encouraging folks to make phone calls, emails, and those things are important too. I like to remind folks that the saying that the president of our organization likes to always say is, government belongs to those that show up. And so many times the other side does such an effective job of showing up in these things, and so I encourage our folks to do that, because remember, these legislators and the staff, they recognize that not everyone can come down here. Not everyone can take even time out of their day to make a phone call. And so when you make those points of contact with your legislator, whether in person, obviously, or just sending them an email or making a phone call to their office, you are literally representing probably hundreds of other people in your district. They know that if they get 10 phone calls on a specific issue, that's not representative of just 10 people. That's a representative of a much larger voice in their district. So encourage folks to always do that. When you are speaking with your legislator on a specific bill, and as Emily mentioned, I'm going to mention some handouts here. We want to provide y'all with good information with some talking points on the bill. Encourage folks to know, have a good basis of understanding of the topic that they want to go talk on. Be prepared to, if you're meeting in person, to leave a handout. Always very effective to leave preferably a one-page handout on the specific bill that you're talking about, and obviously be courteous, but be very direct about the purpose of why you're in their office, why you're making the phone call. As we like to say sometimes, a lot of the representatives have very good at telling stories, love to maybe get you distracted about some beautiful picture from their district that they have on their wall, or all kinds of things, but recognize that their time is valuable, your time is valuable, and the most important thing that you're there, obviously to build a relationship, but to get your points across on the topic that you're talking about. So I think that probably covers all that I was going to transition into some of the specific updates on some of the bills that our organization is working on. Did anyone have any questions before I move on to some of the legislative? Yeah.
So last week, a bunch of pro-abortion groups held a rally for their side at the Capitol. And one of the things they mentioned there was contacting legislators in their districts. So do you want to discuss anything on the relative effectiveness of contacting them here versus at home?
Yeah, I think there are certainly, well, let's take for example, so I'll kind of use this as a segue. So right now there's a public hearing going on in Public Health Committee on and we sent out an action alert yesterday to our people specifically about opposing a bill by Representative Donna Howard, who's a liberal Democrat here in Austin, HB 467, and essentially what the bill does is it deletes a section from our health and safety code that encourages the state of Texas to teach that sexual activity before marriage for minors can be harmful. And so when we send an action alert on that item, that's something where literally the committee hearing is tomorrow. Their staff is working on an issue, so we highly recommended we sent out the contact information of the phone numbers for the folks in the Austin office. Sometimes when you've got a little bit more headway, I would say, on an issue, like for example, last legislative session, when we had, and I'll talk about this, our top priority this session is the Religious Freedom Amendment to permanent protection for religious freedom in our state constitution. We had been communicating with, encouraging folks to communicate with their legislators for probably at least a month at that point. We had a good hearing in State Affairs Committee on the House side and the Senate side, and the bill was just sitting in committee and nothing was happening on it. And so, in those kinds of situations, we started encouraging folks to directly start contacting their district offices to try to, it was clear that messages weren't getting through here in Austin, and so we encouraged folks to start doing that. And thankfully, we had a lot of grassroots folks that did do that. We got accused of placing robocalls into the district, but we made no such robocalls. And so I think sometimes situation to situation, it can be, depending on maybe the timing of it, what's the most effective. But let me just mention, I mentioned SJR 10 and HJR 55, right, is the Texas Religious Freedom Amendment, is our top priority. That is a constitutional amendment to put stronger religious freedom protection language in our state constitution. Just so folks know, with a constitutional amendment that requires a 2/3 majority in the House and the Senate, and then assuming that passed, the governor signed it, it would be placed on the ballot in November. So that's a little bit different, and that's why you see the SJR and the HJR. Another bill kind of our top priority bills, HB 623 by Representative Bell, and SB 673 by Senator Perry, the Texas Preservation of Sovereignty and Marriage Act. We've spoken about that bill several times here, but that specifically has to do with protecting our state's right to define marriage between one man and one woman, and specifically putting some penalties in place for rogue county clerks and those that might try to, like we saw unfortunately here in Travis County just 2 weeks ago, to attempt to try to issue a marriage license that's against our state law. Another important bill, and I've got a handout of all these, HB 1556 by Representative Miller, the Interstate Commerce Improvement Act. This has to do specifically related to some of the so-called discrimination protections that are being put in place in cities around the state, where you're getting these cities putting extra discrimination protections and essentially requiring businesses to have these same discrimination policies in place. And now we're having varying. Some cities have some cities have others, and it is very disruptive for business. And so this would essentially say that we're going to recognize the state standard on non-discrimination, which is the kind of discrimination protections that typically we associate with sex, race, national origin, religion, main four protected that have been recognized by the Supreme Court. HB 205 by Representative Jeff Leach deals with keeping sex education dollars away from abortion providers and their affiliates. And then also HB 454, which is the divorce reform bill, extending the waiting period for divorces by Representative Matt Krause. And like I said, I have those handouts. I also set a handout in the back that has some more talking points on the Religious Freedom Amendment and the HB 623 that we handed it out at the Faith and Family Day that I want folks to be able to have. And let's see here. Like I said, the Public Health Committee is going on right now, probably. So we sent out an email yesterday, continue to encourage folks to contact them about that bill. It's interesting that committee, Public Health, the makeup of the Texas House is 98 Republicans and 42 Democrats. The makeup of the Public Health Committee is 6 Republicans and 5 Democrats. One of the Republicans on that committee is not pro-life, and so effectively you have a not pro-life majority on a very important committee. Anyways, in our email alert, and I can forward this on to anyone that didn't get it, we list all the members of the committee, and obviously they're in our Texas legislature as well. Any other questions? All right, thank you.